Revan sat beneath the flickering cave light, his voice low and uncertain as he admitted he didn't know where to begin, caught off guard by the Jedi who had found his hidden refugees' only private place in a life stripped of freedom. Qui-Gon stood calm, his gentle presence urging the boy to start from the beginning. Sensing the storm within him was deeper than the one outside, Revan hesitated, burdened by visions he barely understood, his eyes haunted by memories that didn't belong to his life but still felt real, tangled between destiny and something far older than prophecy. "Then we better get started, my friend," the weathered mentor urged with a calm smirk, drawing a reluctant groan from the brooding youth whose storm-gray eyes flickered with unease. The elder settled onto the sun-baked stone, legs folded, aura serene, a quiet invitation echoing in the desert wind. "So, in your own time, tell me about these dreams of yours." Hesitant fingers grazed the back of his neck as the young outcast in sleeveless robes pulled silence close, wrestling with memories not born of this life visions too sharp, too real to be mere nightmares. "Ever since I can remember," he began, voice low and rough, "I haven't dreamed like normal people do. Most dreams are chaos, fragments, nonsense, mine aren't. They feel like recollections. Like something buried is clawing its way to the surface." It was less a question and more a grim realization. "No," Revan muttered, shaking his head as he leaned back, eyes fixed on the cave-shadowed ceiling, the weight of unseen memories pressing down. "Is it possible to dream about the future?" he asked, shifting his storm-gray gaze to the Jedi Master. Qui-Gon, calm amidst the stillness, replied with quiet certainty, "It's not a common gift among Jedi. But yes, the Force can offer glimpses of what was, and what may be." A dry chuckle escaped Revan. "Huh. Well, at least this planet hasn't driven me crazy. Yet." Revan muttered, a flicker of relief crossing his storm-gray eyes as he confessed to the cloaked Jedi Master about fractured glimpses of a future that felt both inevitable and impossible visions, haunted by choices he hadn't made and lives he hadn't lived to be cut off by a calm, grounding truth. The future is never fixed, always shifting like sand in the wind. 1,000 paths branching from every moment, each vision merely a whisper of what could be, not what must be. Leaving the boy cloaked in doubt, staring into the void of endless possibility, a brooding teen with storm-gray eyes and raven hair glares, rejecting the ideals of a system he sees as corrupt, claiming the Republic and Jedi care only for power, wealth, and control, no different than the dark forces they oppose. When challenged that the Jedi use their power for good, he fires back with sharp cynicism, questioning whether good and evil are just perspectives, daring to see the Force not in absolutes, but in shades of gray, leaving silence in the wake of a truth too uncomfortable to answer. A brooding teen with storm-gray eyes and raven hair glares, voice laced with cynicism as he challenges the ideals of the Jedi and the Republic, claiming they care only for power, authority, and wealth, no different than the Sith or the Hutts. When told the Jedi use their power for good, he fires back with a sharp retort: what is good but a point of view? Questioning why the Force must be seen in absolutes of black and white instead of shades of gray, pushing the boundaries of belief with raw intellect and haunted intensity. A brooding teen with storm-gray eyes and raven hair leans against the shadows of his cave, voice sharp with cynical wisdom beyond his years. They've never cared about anything beyond their borders, only power, control, wealth, cloaked in the Republic's hollow glory and the Jedi's quiet pacifism. But look closer, and the line between them and the Hutts, the Sith, begins to blur. When compassion meets dogma, he challenges it. If the Jedi wield power for good, then what even is good? Just perspective, isn't it? Maybe I'm the hero and you're the villain, or maybe it's the other way around. Why must the Force be light or dark? Why not endless shades of gray? A stoic mentor watches, calm but troubled, replying that the Force doesn't bend to simplicity, but the boy won't back down. Why not? The question lingers, echoing through the silence like a spark before the storm. A lone seeker with storm-gray eyes ponders the ancient divide. Why? Can either side harness both lights? Wisdom speaks. Light and dark are opposites, not allies. One serves with compassion, the other rules through rage. But isn't power the true goal for both? Stripped bare, their hunger looks the same. Yet the path defines the purpose. The Jedi walk surrender, the Sith seize control. In the end, it's not the Force they wield, but the choice that shapes them. "I wouldn't call it a fascination," he said with a shrug, voice low and edged with ancient knowing. Just look at history, same patterns, same mistakes, war after war. Each one blindsiding the Jedi because they keep believing the Sith are gone. Exar Kun, Darth Revan, Malgus, the Great Sith War, the Mandalorian conflict, the Jedi Civil War, the Dark Wars, the Cold War, the Galactic War, the New Sith Wars. They all began in silence, then shattered the peace like glass. Darth Revan, the Master murmured, recognition flashing like a half-remembered dream, a name etched in legend, a shadow from 4,000 years past the road to some, monster to others, a blade that carved its mark across time. He wasn't sure if it was really her, or just his mind conjuring the voice of someone who could still pierce through his calm like Yoda, like Dooku, the man who once shaped him into a knight, a ghost from a past he never escaped. You okay, Qui-Gon? Revan's voice cut through the silence, storm gray eyes locked onto him, sharp with concern. Snapped from memory, the Jedi Master offered a quiet assurance. I'm fine, just echoes. He brushed it off, but the boy didn't buy it, still said nothing. No one knew the weight he carried, not even this brooding youth in desert robes, haunted by dreams that weren't his. Everyone had shadows, even Jedi. You seem drawn to the old Republic, Qui-Gon said, shifting focus, chasing thoughts away from lost loves and fallen comrades, anchoring instead to the present a young mind full of questions and a future neither could yet see. I wouldn't call it a fascination, he said with a quiet shrug, storm gray eyes distant. Just look at history, same patterns, over and over. Wars rise, empires fall, and the Jedi always think they've won until they don't. Exar Kun, Darth Revan, Malgus the Sith vanish, then return from the shadows, striking when no one sees it coming. The name hung in the air like an echo across millennia, Darth Revan. The old master's breath, Kotha knew that name now. Buried deep in ancient texts and forgotten wars, a legend carved in fire and ruin, a soul who once stood as both savior and destroyer, light and darkness bound in one. Savior, conqueror, Jedi Knight, Sith Lord, the prodigal knight titles carved in legend by a lone soul who walked both edges of the Force and lived to tell the tale, a rare being who mastered light and dark, not as opposites but as one breath. Two halves of a shattered destiny, yet why would a mother name her son after a fallen Dark Lord whose shadow still haunts the Republic? Why invite the weight of that bloodline when even his descendants bore the burden with silent pride? Qui-Gon mused on the paradox of balance. A gray Jedi may touch the dark but never drown in it, for the light always pulls back. Restraint becomes weakness, and weakness becomes fall. Revan spoke with quiet intensity, asking if Qui-Gon had ever heard of Kriya or Tsar names that carried weight in his haunted mind, only to be met with an honest denial. Yet the Jedi's promise to seek answers lightened the boy's burden just enough. Their bond deepened in that moment, a skeptic and a guardian dancing around trust. One snarky remark at a time. Revan spoke with quiet intensity, asking if Qui-Gon had ever heard of Kriya or Jar, names that carried weight in his haunted mind. Qui-Gon admitted he hadn't, feeling the weight of the boy's disappointment but vowing to uncover the truth once back on Coruscant, earning a reluctant nod and a faint jab about Jedi pacifism, met with a calm, amused smile as the old warrior turned the question back on the young one, curiosity now burning in his eyes. Revan spoke with quiet intensity, recalling his search on Coruscant for a Master Jarhad Qui-Gon ever heard of Kriya or Jar. The Jedi admitted he hadn't, heart sinking at the boy's shadowed expression, but vowed to uncover the truth upon their return, offering his word without hesitation. Revan muttered a reluctant thanks, conceding the Jedi wasn't so bad for a pacifist staring, a wry smile, and a light reply that he aimed to please, though curiosity still burned in his eyes for answers yet unspoken. And that is? Padmé, let something slip today, something I meant to keep quiet until I could ask you myself. You mean about me using the Force in the shop? Yeah, figured that out, Revan said, realizing Padmé wasn't as discreet as he'd hopeless and learned about talking around her. Correct, the Jedi replied, calm and steady. I saw Kreia training a younger version of you basic techniques, force pull, force push. Took only weeks to grasp them, almost like muscle memory returning, as if you'd once known the Force deeply and were just reawakening it, like riding a forgotten bike through shadows of a past life. In this quiet yet intense chapter of the Return of the Prodigal Knight and the Phantom Menace, the desert winds carry whispers of destiny, as a brooding young outcast with storm gray eyes confronts visions of a past he never lived. while a weary Jedi with a rebel heart sits in silent meditation, sensing something deeper in the Force clues hidden within fractured memories and ancient echoes. Their bond begins to form in the stillness, two souls on the edge of revelation, drawn together by unseen threads as a disguised observer watches closely. Her pendant glinting beneath simple cloth, all heading toward a capital world where truths will shatter illusions and fate ignites anew. Here's the next chapter of the Return of the Prodigal Knight and the Phantom Menace, where silence speaks louder than lightsaber stew souls adrift in the Force. One burdened by forgotten memories, the other guided by quiet wisdom, as a storm-haired youth with haunted eyes walks the edge of identity while a grizzled guardian seeks meaning in visions he doesn't yet understand, their bond forming not in battle but in stillness beneath desert skies and whispered truths, setting the stage for revelations that will shake the halls of power long before they reach the shining spires of destiny. What did you feel when the cave echoed with secrets only the Force could tell? As Tatooine's twin suns bleed into the horizon, fate cracks open beneath the weight of a Gambalone boy races for freedom. Another stirs with power he cannot name. Qui-Gon Jinn stands in silence, watching the dunes swallow the light, knowing the hyperdrive rests on a bet that could save a galaxy or bury it. Anakin bends metal and fire to his will, but it is Revan who unsettles the Force itself. Visions clawing at his mind, whispers calling him from the dark, a name too ancient to remember. Revan. Shmi speaks in hushed tones of sons born not of flesh but design, of eyes that glowed before they opened. Padmé, cloaked in duty, finds her resolve trembling under starlight as a quiet moment with Revan unravels something deeper than loyalty, something like truth. The podracer roars to life at dusk, thunder in oil-streaked hands, while shadows stretch long with the return of a legacy half forgotten. This is not just a race. It is the first breath of destiny, tangled in blood, sand, and a name that once broke empires. As the twin suns bled into the horizon, Qui-Gon stood at the edge of the homestead, comlink silent in his hand after Obi-Wan's wary voice faded into static trapped by sand and fate. He tucked the device away, words unspoken weighing heavier than duty. There was no choice, only the pull of something ancient stirring beneath the dunes. His gaze fell to the courtyard where two boys shaped metal in destiny under a dying light, their hands building more than eraser forging, the first sparks of a future no Jedi prophecy had foreseen. Nearby, a handmaiden watched with guarded eyes, and a mother stood beside the Jedi Master, both bound by love and silence. In that stillness, Qui-Gon felt it the echo of forgotten names, the breath before revelation, the quiet unraveling of what it meant to be chosen not by the Council, but by the Force itself. You should be very proud of your sons, Qui-Gon said, his voice cutting through the still desert air they give without any thought of reward. Our galaxy would be a far better place if everyone acted as they do. A quiet warmth flickered across her face, a mother's pride glowing like embers beneath the weight of years spent in shame. She had nothing to give them but love and lessons forged in hardship, yet somehow they grew kind, unspoiled by hunger or hopelessness. They know nothing of greed, only of dreams, she whispered, then hesitated, the truth clawing at her tongue, something deeper, older, written in the way their eyes caught the twin suns just before dusk, in the way one boy once stopped a man's breath with a glance, in the visions that came like storms none could explain. Special power. Under the twin suns of a desert world, fate crackles in the silence between heartbeats. Qui-Gon speaks truths buried deep in the Force, his voice steady yet laced with awe as he reveals the boy's gift, seeing what has not yet come, a sign of souls touched by something ancient and unyielding. Her breath catches, eyes locked on his, shimmering with a hope long denied. These children brothers bound by blood and something darker were never meant for chains or dust. One, forged in visions of fire and shadow, wakes screaming from dreams he cannot name. The other, bright and raw, burns with a speed that defies nature. And in the hush of evening, as one whispers words that make a girl blush and a boy flush with fury, a mother's guilt settles like sand after a storm she knows they were never hers to give away, never born, but brought. I remember his first vision, the sweat, the terror, the raw power trembling through him, and those storm gray eyes wide with something beyond fear. Qui-Gon listened, breath held, as she spoke of the house shaking, of a scream that tore through the night like fate unspooling. It was only her arms around him that stilled the storm, only love that pulled him back. And then, broken and small, he begged not for himself, but to be spared from him again. Vitiate. The name slipped into the silence like a shadow with no source. Qui-Gon turned it over in his mind, a whisper from no past he knew. Yet it rang with weight, with warning. If this Vitiate was not of history, then perhaps he was a prophesiant. If so, why would a name unborn already hunger for a child's suffering? As the twin suns bled into the horizon, a quiet dread settled in Qui-Gon's bones. Something ancient stirred in this desert dust, in the boy called Revan. The name alone was a scar on history, whispered in Jedi halls like a curse from a forgotten war. 4,000 years ago, a legend turned tyrant, a Jedi who walked the edge and became something darker. Darth Revan, the fallen general who burned through galaxies with his apprentice at his side. And now here, in the silence of a slave's hut on Tatooine, that same name had been given not by chance, but by blood. Shmi's answer hung in the air, simple yet unsettling. It's just a name, but Qui-Gon knew better. Names are never just names. They are echoes, prophecies, warnings. And this one carried the weight of a destiny neither she nor the galaxy may be ready to face. "Oh my," Shmi whispered, her hand trembling over her lips as the weight of revelation settled in. "I had no idea what happened to him." Qui-Gon exhaled slowly, his voice low and measured beneath the twin sun's fading glow. "I'm afraid my knowledge of Darth Revan is limited. After he returned to the light, he vanished into the unknown regions, never seen again. He withheld the darker truth, the Jedi Council's desperate gambit, the reprogramming, the manipulation of a fallen hero's mind to serve their cause, a wound on the soul of the Order itself." Shmi closed her eyes, absorbing the silence between words. "I never knew the name carried such shadows. I only named him that because it came to me in a dream mode I've never understood, yet could never forget." Under the dim glow of Tatooine's twin suns descending beyond the dunes, a truth stirs beneath the silence. Shmi's voice trembles as she speaks of sons born without fathers, of miracles wrapped in sand and shadow. When Qui-Gon hears the words fall from her lips, he feels the Force ripple like wine through ancient ruin-stone boys, untouched by mortal lineage, their origins veiled in something far older than bloodlines. Her confession hangs heavy, not with shame but sorrow, a mother's plea woven into the fabric of fate itself. And though the Jedi bears no answers, only doubt and duty at war within him, one thing becomes clear. These children were not born by chance, but placed here by hands, unseen, their destinies already written in starlight and storm. I've never heard of a Jedi named Skywalker, but as the desert wind whispered through the stone walls, Shmi lowered her gaze, a quiet flush crossing her face. There was no father with either of them, she admitted, voice trembling like sand on a dune. With Revan, I thought perhaps one drink too many under the twin suns, but when it happened again with Anakin, I knew it wasn't chance. 2 sons born without a man, and I'm no liar, no sinner. I can't explain it, and I have no proof. Can you help them?" Qui-Gon stood in silence, the weight of her words pressing like a storm on the horizon. "As cruel as it sounds, I didn't come here to free slaves." His voice cracked not with indifference, but with the ache of a truth he wasn't ready to face. Under the twin suns of a desert world where fate cracks through the sand like lightning, 2 boys stand on the edge of destinies, a prodigy with the heart of a hero, the other a storm wrapped in silence, born not of blood but of something older, deeper. As the podracer roars back to life and echoes of ancient wars whisper through the dunes, a mother's truth cuts through years of illusion. They were never born, they were placed. Revan, marked by visions and a power he cannot name, carries the weight of galaxies no child should bear, while Anakin burns with a light too bright to ignore. The Jedi sense the imbalance, the divergence, the thread of something long buried now rising. One is too old for training, too wild for rules, too close to the edge, yet neither can be denied. In quiet moments beneath star-strewn skies, bonds form not through words but through silence, touch, a shared breath between souls recognizing each other across lifetimes. This is not just a story of podraces and prophecies. It is the awakening of a legacy veiled in shadow, where protection comes at a cost, where names from a forgotten age rise like dust in the wind, and where love, loyalty, and the Force itself begin to blur into one unbreakable vow. Under the dim glow of Tatooine's twin suns, Shmi speaks in hushed tones of a power she cannot explain her. Sun's eyes flash with storm and fire. His rage summoning an invisible grip that crushes the breath from those who threaten them, leaving slavers gasping on the sand without a single touch. She watches the Jedi Master closely, seeing the flicker of recognition in his gaze, the weight of forbidden knowledge. He confirms what she fears it is not a path of light, but one walked by shadows, an ancient discipline twisted by the Sith, born of fury and control. The word hangs in the air like a sentence. Sith, a name whispered in dread, now tied to the boy she holds dear. A force both terrifying and protective, stirring echoes of forgotten wars and destinies not yet written. Revan mentioned them last night. Aren't they enemies of the Jedi? The Jedi nodded, but they were destroyed a millennium ago by both the Jedi and the Republic. But I wouldn't worry about Revan using that ability. I'll speak to him about it later. In truth, the Jedi Maverick was uneasy if Revan was tapping into dark side powers. It wasn't just a warning sign, it was a spark on dry tinder. Such abilities could mark the beginning of a fall few returned from, and if the Council learned of this, they might not seek to train him, they'd seek to stop him by any means necessary. Before he could press further, a thunderous bang split the air, followed by the raw scream of a podracer's engine roaring to life. Anakin sat inside, grinning like a boy who'd just stolen the stars, while Revan stood at the flank, smeared in oil, hands blackened, overalls stained with sweat and grit. Qui-Gon looked impressed few could have rebuilt that machine in time. Shmi didn't flinch. She knew her son. He'd always had a gift for fixing what others abandoned. A quiet genius forged in silence and sand. One he'd shared only with his brother through long days beneath scorched metal skies. She stood in the shadow of a crime lord's domain, every instinct screaming that unseen eyes were watching. Jabba's reach was long, his cruelty legendary, and the thought of being tracked sent a chill down her spine. Shaking off the dread, she wandered the quiet corners of the Skywalker home, searching for distraction. Shmi scrubbed dishes in the kitchen. Jar Jar snored in a heap on the floor. The droids lay dormant in the boys' room. And HK's mechanical footsteps echoed like a hunter's breath through the hall's best avoided. Outside, Anakin and Qui-Gon sat in silent vigil on the veranda, silhouetted by the dying light. One figure remained unaccounted for Revan. Since Qui-Gon had taken him away hours ago, he'd vanished without a trace. Thena Creek. A door parted. He emerged, cloaked in dust and darkness, hood drawn, eyes glinting like storm clouds under starlight, as if he'd walked back from a vision no one else could see. She stood in the shadow of a world ruled by greed and power, where every whisper could be a threat and every ally a target. Jabba's domain loomed like a curse over the desert sands. Her mind raced with dangers unseen, spies in the dark, enemies at the gate, but she pushed the fear aside and stepped deeper into the quiet heart of the Skywalker home. Shmi moved gently through the remnants of dinner. Jar Jar sprawled in slumber, droids powered down, HK-47 prowling the halls like a specter she dared not meet. Outside, Qui-Gon and Anakin sat in silent vigil beneath the twin suns' dying light. But one presence remained untraceable, Revan. Since Qui-Gon took him away hours ago, he had vanished without a trace. Under the twin moons of a desert world, gray eyes meet brown in a silent spark that defies fate. Revan Skywalker steps forward, cloaked in shadow and starlight, his raven hair tousled by the wind as he sheds his cloak to reveal more than just sweat-soaked skin, but a presence raw and real. Padmé stands guarded, yet breathless, her heart betraying her composure as his soft voice cuts through the night with quiet concern, only for her pride to answer with sharp wit. Their words laced with tension, not of conflict, but connection. Two souls orbiting each other in the stillness before destiny's storm. Under the twin shadows of Tatooine's dunes, and a sky stitched with stars, a spark flickers between two souls bound by silence, and Storm Revan's sharp words cut like desert wind, teasing Padmé with a smirk that hides his ache, her flush betraying more than anger as she shoves him, only to find him yielding not with mockery but concern, his hands raised in false surrender before the question slips out. Raw and real, what's wrong? And in that moment, beneath the weight of unspoken destinies and the glow of distant suns, even defiance falters. Under the twin shadows of Tatooine's dusk, a whisper cuts through silence. You wound me, Padmé. Revan's voice carries a smirk, but his storm-gray eyes see deeper than lies. But you're a terrible liar! Denial flickers across her face, tight and rehearsed. Yet he sees the tremor beneath the fear she hides, the weight she won't name. I can sense the emotions rolling off you, he says, calm, unrelenting. You may look fine on the outside, but inside, a storm. Her breath catches. He knows without knowing, feels what words refuse to say. Not psychic, just attuned to pain, shaped by it. And in that moment, under a sky bleeding into night, two souls stand at the edge of truth. One guarding secrets like scars, the other seeing them for what they are, not flaws, but proof of survival. Padmé swallowed hard, the weight of her secret pressing against her ribs, as Revan's voice cut through the silence like a whisper in the dark. She wanted to speak, to unburden herself, but the words died before they could form. Trapped beneath duty and deception, Tatooine felt less like a refuge and more like a cage, a desert grave for hope. And yet here he stood, his storm gray eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her breath catch, his hands steady on her shoulders, grounding her in a moment she hadn't known she needed. I know we haven't known each other long, he said, voice low but sure. And you have no reason to trust me, but if you ever need to talk, I'm here. She didn't answer with words, just a quiet nod that carried the weight of everything left unsaid. Her mind drifting back to the people she'd sworn to protect, the ones suffering under shadows she couldn't yet fight, when suddenly he spoke again. Soft but certain, you're thinking about your people. Under the twin moons of a desert world, silence speaks louder than words when a guarded handmaiden's thoughts are suddenly heard by a boy with storm gray eyes. Neither destiny nor denial can hide the truth any longer. He didn't just hear her mind, he felt her pain. And in that moment, between starlight and shadow, a bond forms not through choice but fate, as the weight of secrets, duty, and a name whispered from ancient times begins to stir something long buried beneath the sand. Under the twin moons of a desert world, fate whispers through the silence between two young souls where a simple apology becomes something greater, a fragile embrace revealing unspoken burdens and quiet strength. As stars bear witness, the weight of destiny presses upon them, not with thunder, but with stillness, the kind that shapes legends in shadows. A mother watches, heart full, as her son offers what he never learned from the sands, tenderness. And in that fleeting moment, beneath layers of duty and fear, a handmaiden lets go of control, of pretense, of the belief that courage means standing alone. Under the twin moons of a desert world where fate whispers through the sands, a bond forms between two souls bound by silence and destiny. Revan, a boy touched by visions and shadows, holds Padmé close beneath the sky, ablaze with stars, their breaths sinking with the hush of the night. As he pulls back to meet her gaze, his voice carries not just promise but power words, spoken not only aloud but within her mind, soft yet unshakable. He speaks of his brother, a racer, unseen but already legendary, of hope riding on speed and faith. Trust me, he says, and the force behind those words wraps around her doubt like a lifeline. She hesitates, then surrenders not to romance, but to belief. Okay, she whispers, eyes glistening, heart guarded yet leaning forward. I'll trust you. Don't let me down. And in that moment, under ancient skies, something shifts, an invisible thread tightens, destiny stirs, and the desert keeps its secrets just a little longer. Under the twin suns of a desert world, fate hums in the silence between heartbeats where a mother's confession unravels the origin of two sons not born, but placed. As visions claw through time and a name long buried, Revan echoes from the dark, powers stir that defy Jedi doctrine. In stolen moments beneath star-choked skies, a handmaiden's doubt melts into quiet trust, and a touch speaks louder than vows. The podracer nears completion. Destiny edges closer, and one glance, one kiss on the cheek lingers like a promise, written in stardust, unspoken, undeniable. This is not just a tale of prophecy and podraces, but of bonds forged in shadow, choices carved by will, and the fragile line between light and something far more human.